All right, it's time for another 5 minutes. And joining us today, you know him as the public address announcer for the Anaheim Ducks. It's Phil Hulett who's joining us today on the show. Phil, how are you?
I'm well, Eric. Thank you very much. How are you?
I'm doing all right, trying to find a way to pass the time. And I know today you want to talk about something that probably isn't for the faint of heart. So, what's our topic going to be?
Today's topic is blood on the ice.
He came prepared with the microphone and everything. This one's going to be something else to talk about. Of course, there's been some incidents that you've seen in the past and some that
Yeah.
I've seen on TV. So here we go. Let's put 5 minutes on the clock, and I'll let you kick it off. What
Okay.
have you seen that has really turned your stomach, or maybe?
All right. I have three stories for you. One of them involving me. I'll save that for last. The most famous of the three, if you're a Ducks fan, if you're a fan of hockey, if you're a fan of Teemu Selanne, he was skating on the ice, went right past me at center ice. I sit on the glass in the referee's crease, and he was pursued by his defenders. He was on offense, as they say in Canada, and up against the boards, and somehow he slipped, and it was awkward, and the back of his skate sliced the back of his leg,
Mm.
sliced it open. If like you were to take a cleaver to Teemu Selanne's calf and slice it open, that's what he did with his skate right there on the ice. It was hideous. It was heinous. It was no doubt painful. And of course, we all know what happened to Selanne. I think now, if I have my memory correct, this was before his knee surgery and rehab, where he came back even better than he was before his knee surgery, and perhaps 3 or 4 years prior to the knee surgery, and played for more years than anybody ever expected him to play. So we all forgot about the blood until just now. You could thank me for bringing it up. The other one, just to the left of me, just between the red line and the blue line, is a linesman who reaches down because he's going to slip and fall, reaches down to the ice and then steps on his hand with his and have you ever done that? Like, you have a folding chair and you put your finger in between the folding part of it, and then you sit down and you can't get your hand out of that because
I've done the
you know
folding chair. I've not stepped on myself with a skate blade.
no, it's the same kind of thing though, because you can't pull your foot up and get your hand out so it's one of those moments. Anyway, right in the middle of his hand, and there's blood streaming like Saturday Night Live fake blood streaming all over the ice right there.
Goodness.
And it was really a scary moment. And the players came over and they were like pressing down on his hand, and we got a towel out of the penalty box next to me, and we wrapped his hand up. I didn't do it, but they wrapped his hand up real tight and stopped the bleeding, and he went in, and they patched up his hand. And typically you would expect a guy in a hockey game to have that kind of hideous injury to come back again later in the
Right.
game. Strangely enough, he did not come back. So that tells you that it was as probably as serious an injury as one can get, especially in the hand, close to the wrist. You get close to some
Mhm.
vital arteries there. And so Solani, by the way, didn't come back for his next shift either, which is what you would expect a hockey player to do. How are we doing with time? We have one more story, because the one more involves me.
You got 2 more minutes.
2 more minutes? Okay. So back before they increased the height of the plexiglass at the arena, by about 3 feet, I guess, the puck used to come in all the time, every single
Mm.
game. Somebody in the audience would get bloodied because they're not paying attention. The puck comes in at speed, and you've got a bloodied fan, and they go home. And the pucks would come in to where I sit as well. And I would always do my best to keep my eyes on it and try to catch them. But you can't always do that. And near the end of a period, um, this was right after a fight between Stu Grimson and I forgot who else. Stu was sitting there in the penalty box, and it was near the end of the period, and a puck comes in and skims right off the top of my head. Okay, it didn't dig in, which would have been bad, but it did a skim, like if you took a flat rock and went to the lake and tried to get 3 or 4 bounces out of it.
Right.
That's what it did, and it took off, and we were able to recover the puck. I have it here somewhere. It's behind me in this shrine somewhere. Um, so anyway, the period had ended, and the guy sitting next to me, the off ice official, his name is Steve. He looked at my head and he said, "Oh, I see blood." And he said, and Stu was still there. He said, "Hey Stu, can we have that bag of ice?" So Stu tossed it over, and he stuck it on my head, and then I pulled the ice off, and the bag of ice was covered in blood. And I said, well, wait a minute, am I really bleeding that bad? And he said, and looking at it again, and he said, no, come to think of it, there isn't any blood. Your skin is just kind of red from the puck. But the bag was covered in blood, and that was from Stu Grimson's knuckles.
Oh.
And I stuck that on my head.
Oh my goodness.
Well, that's story number 3 involving blood on the ice.
What a twist at the end of that third story. Thankfully, I have 0 to contribute to this because I haven't really seen it before other than the old Clint Malarchuk video and Richard Zednick from in the 90s, and that takes us right to 5 minutes. Phil, thanks so much for being on. I hope everybody stuck through and watched the entire 5 minutes and were able to stomach it. Luckily, I was able to, even though I was making cringy faces the whole time.
Thank you for not asking, what's it like to be a PA announcer?
Which was my #1 goal when I asked you if you would like to join us. Thanks, Phil. We'll talk to you soon.